Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another session of our FiberLookup Partner Portal and Pricing Pro demo. This is a monthly series. We're back at it again this October. Uh, the one thing I'll just say off the bat is save any questions you may have, put them in the chat, and at the end of the call, I'll answer any questions. This session also will be recorded, so we'll send it out to all the partners who joined. But yeah, any questions, any comments that come up, whether it be about the portal, the fiber lookup tool, about ACS, maybe your partnership, feel free to ask those questions and I'll address them at the end. But yeah, really what we have today is, the focus is to dive into the partner portal, show you guys some of the really cool features and resources you have as an ACS partner, and then we'll look at the fiber lookup. We'll run an address from beginning to end, and I'll highlight a lot of the really great features from top to bottom. That way, when you guys are utilizing these tools, you're really getting the most value out of them. So what you see in front of me is the ACS Partner Portal. Everybody should have access to this. If you don't have access to this, reach out to us. We're going to send a recap email. There's going to be a big button that says, do you need help? Do you want to follow up? Make sure you get in touch with us because you want to make sure that you and all of your team members are also utilizing the portal. Now, there is a commission section, which I won't be going over on this call, but we can set up logins where we can limit this view for any team members, sales reps, people that you don't want and don't need them to see the commission rates. We can block this area off. Yeah, so this is your partner portal. Your partner portal is going to look very different than mine or very similar, right? And the reason I say that is that every ACS partner has an ACS team. And this ACS team is typically based out of, where you're located, right? If you're a Northeast partner, right? You live in one of those Northeast states, you're most likely working with Philip Klein, right? He oversees that pocket of the country. But if you're in central United States, right, Texas, Oklahoma, you're probably working with Karen. Or if you're on the West Coast, you're probably working with Patrick. So again, depending on where you're localized, we connect you with a local channel manager and a local support manager. That way you always have someone on your time zone to support you. I just want to quickly go over what their roles are. That way, as you're leaning on your ACS team, you know who to utilize. So generally, your ACS channel manager is going to be your best contact for all things regarding the partnership, right? And also, they're going to be your best contact for strategizing, right? If you're thinking about that big picture play, they're going to support you on the day-to-day stuff. But as you're thinking about growing your company, expanding your reach, coming up with more strategies to introduce your customers to new technologies, your channel manager is going to be a great resource. I believe every ACS channel manager right now has on average a 13 plus year tenure, right? So everybody that you're working with has been in the industry over a decade plus, so you're going to be in good hands. You'll also have a dedicated support manager. The support manager is going to be a great resource for additional quoting support. They're also going to support your the provisioning process, right? Did the technician show up on site? When are things being scheduled? When are things being turned up? They're going to be a great resource for answering those questions. They're also on a bunch of compliance calls with these providers, so they're going to be very savvy about the order systems, the order placing tools. So in general, they're going to be they're your main channel manager and your main support manager. You can pretty much copy them on every opportunity you get because they're there to support you. We have Holly, our marketing manager. We've supported partners in generating PDF files, landing pages, email campaigns, right? Maybe you want to target a specific customer base, move them off their old PBX into a hosted VoIP system. We've done these types of campaigns. Reach out to our marketing manager. We also have under resources this marketing section, and we have a marketing questionnaire. It's about 3 to 4 minutes, but it's going to really help us curate the marketing supplies needed so that you can target that specific demographic that you're looking for. So I encourage all our partners to utilize that. And then I'm the partner success manager. I lead these calls. If you'd like me to lead a call like this with your team, right? Maybe we have a specific agenda in mind. I'm happy to do that all day. I also work with the commission department, so I can answer questions like how much you get paid, when you get paid, spiffs, incentives, direct deposits, all that fun stuff. So, all that being said, this is your ACS team. And again, your main channel manager and your main support manager might look different, but as you log into your portal, lean on your team, right? One thing we preach here at ACS is that there's no generic inboxes. There is always someone to go to for your support for whatever need you have. So with that being said, if you scroll further down, we have industry updates. We're constantly adding new updates, right? The latest mergers, name changes, customer promos, incentives. You're going to find all those here in this industry updates section. It updates every few days. So just jump on the portal and see what's out there. It's always a great idea to keep your pulse on what's happening. And then further down here, you typically have all the spiffs. Again, for your employees or sales reps who don't need to see the incentives, what's out there, we can limit this view, but we keep all this in one place. The next section I want to look at is the product section. I've been having a lot of partners ask me lately, hey, what products can we sell, right? We're a TSD, a technology service distributor. So for some of the newer partners who are kind of just breaking into this industry, they want to know what's out there. We can sell almost everything under the sun, right? Network, communication, security, cloud, and we even have this section of other, right? That we have payment processing, expense management, reputation management, target advertising, all these very niche solutions that your customers may be asking for. I'll bet 9 times out of 10, if your customer is asking if you offer this solution or this niche solution, there's a provider in our portfolio that has a product and we can sell it. And so the best way to figure out, what product, right? You can go to this product section and you can just look up, right? Let's say the product's SD-WAN. You can type in SD-WAN, and what the tool's going to do, it's actually going to give you a list of all the providers in our portfolio that can offer SD-WAN, right? Some of these might be region based depending on the provider, right? If they have a specific footprint, but some providers are going to be able to do that SD-WAN service nationwide. Um, and then, so you're probably looking at this and saying, Sergio, there's 40 different providers that can offer SD-WAN. How am I going to reasonably introduce my customer to 40 different providers? This is a great scenario where you'll lean on your ACS channel manager, right? And say, hey, who do you recommend we utilize for SD-WAN? They're going to give you the top 3 to 4 options based on our experience, based on the customer's need, and then also based on, where they're located. All these things are going to factor in to being able to suggest the best solution for your customers. So that's, having someone on your side that's going to have that expertise, that knowledge, somebody that's going to help guide you in the right direction. That's what your ACS team is for. But yeah, this is a really cool section. I encourage everybody to utilize it. Check out the product section. You'd be surprised. There's some really niche things that you probably didn't even know that you have access to selling: antivirus, disaster recovery. This is all network stuff, but the list goes on, especially as you tap into some of these other things: SIP trunks, wholesale, CRM integrations, you name it. Next, you'll also notice the providers section over here on this left-hand side. You can also access it up here. You can select any one of these provider pages. And what we've done is we've really simplified the information all in one page, right? So this is the ACC business page. If you don't know, they're the business division of AT&T. So we have a general overview page, contacts page. We've even designated what region these different contacts are: central contacts, western contacts. And you can see this is a plentiful table with all this information about the different channel managers. And depending on one thing we like to do is we like to connect you with the local channel managers with the providers you're working with, right? If you're working with ACC Business or Vonage or Frontier, whoever these channel managers are, we want to connect you with the local channel managers because one, they're going to be on your time zone. Two, it's going to help you develop that relationship, especially if you're somebody that does a ton of that business, right? If you do a lot of Comcast, you do a lot of, Nitel, AirSpring, whoever that may be, we want to connect you to that channel manager so that you can develop a really good relationship. That's it. Typically what we find is just, that leads to better outcomes. So again, that's something your ACS team will facilitate, help introduce you to some of these channel managers, but we do keep them here listed transparently for you. We have links, docs, including battle cards, rate cards, overviews, things of that nature. Um, Pricing rate cards, that's going to be obsolete, right? Even though we have them here at your disposal, once we look at the fiber lookup, which we'll dive into shortly, and we utilize Pricing Pro to get that real-time pricing, you're going to see this tool, is going to supersede any kind of rate card or availability card that you have access to because it's all going to be real-time information, although we do keep it there for you. And then lastly, we have commissions and spiffs. And again, I won't go over commissions or spiffs on this call, but if you'd like to dive deeper into compensation, spiffs, things of that nature, well, there's going to be an opportunity to do so on our follow up, and I'd be happy to reach out and follow up personally. And then just some last things here on the partner portal that I'd like to just draw your attention to, right? We have an orders section. As you're placing orders with ACS, you're going to see them populate on a table here. Mine's going to be empty, right? I'm on a demo account. But on your end, as you're submitting orders, by the end of the day, you'll see those orders populated on your end. And it's going to give us that congruency of, hey, you're going to be able to see which orders are listed here. If there's any discrepancies, we're going to be able to identify them proactively. And so it's just a great tool where, your orders submitted are going to show up here in real time and it's going to keep everybody on track. Similarly, once commissions generate, right, you'll have access to a commission statement. It's going to be an Excel file, all the orders you've placed, what they're billing, what your compensation is. That way, you're always in the know as far as what you're earning. The one thing I do want to go over before we dive into the fiber lookup is this ACS automotive page. So ACS Automotive is a dedicated division. It's a dedicated ACS division to the auto dealership industry. So one thing we do particularly well is, not only are, we're a TSD, of course, but we also specialize in very specific sectors. A few off the top: automotive, healthcare, dental, real estate. Those are, construction, that's a big one. Just off the top, those are industries where we have unique and specialized providers that are catering to those sectors, right? It's not your typical one size fits all UCaaS provider or internet provider or some kind of technology provider. These What we do is we specifically curate solutions that are going to be designed to integrate to the systems for the automotive industry or the healthcare industry, right? These providers are going to speak the same language as these different businesses to be able to help close more deals. So for the automotive industry, we have this really cool overview for sales. Depending on, typically for an auto dealership, these are the main departments that they're looking to enhance and optimize, right? Their sales department, their fixed operations department, and even on the finance side, super important. Payment processing, right? That happens a lot on the finance side. You're going to put a down payment on the card. That's really important to have a reliable payment processing provider. In the provider section here, these providers are very curated and specialized providers that are serving the automotive industry. I'll say this off the bat: not every TSD is going to have access to these providers. For a lot of these vendors that you're looking at here, ACS was the very first TSD to onboard them into our portfolio. And one thing I didn't touch on is, one thing that we really do to help us stand out, right? And stand out with all the noise that all these TSDs that are out there, right? Why ACS? ACS goes out of its way to onboard more regional internet providers, right, to give you more options. And they're all going to be in the Fiber Lookup tool, which we'll look at shortly. We go out of our way to get more specialized providers, right, like Dealer OMG, who does dealership marketing, SEO, websites specifically for dealerships, right? Or Mia, which is an AI voice agent that thrives working with dealerships, right? You're going to call in, you're going to set up a service department to do an oil change, and maybe you're mumbling and saying, I think I want to do it on a Thursday or maybe a Friday. And the AI's voice agent's going to give you recommendations. It's going to sound natural, no latency. It's going to book those appointments into the CRM. All these different providers are doing really unique things, specifically in this automotive industry. And we have more examples of these providers for different industries, right? Healthcare, dental, real estate, right? So when you're working with ACS and you have these opportunities in these industries, think ACS. Automotive, dental, healthcare, real estate, construction. You're going to want to bring us these opportunities because you're going to have access to more providers that you're not going to have access to anywhere else. And you're going to find that there's more specialized solutions that really going to make an impact for some of these customers. By just select product here, you can kind of see at a glance what different solutions, right? Cybersecurity, target advertising, payment processing. These are very niche solutions specifically to this industry and providers that have very curated offerings for this sector. Yeah, so this is the ACS automotive section. You can explore some of the other things, other docs, solution, even videos. And that section's always going to live down here, right? ACS automotive. Great. So with that being said, I'm going to transition now to the fiber lookup, right? So that's the partner portal. If you have your questions for people who are just joining us, say, type your questions into the chat and I'll answer them at the very end. So now we're in the fiber lookup tool. I have an address. Before I hit select, right? So with fiber lookup, it's very easy. You type in your address, you copy paste. You want to make sure you match it, right? So now that I've entered this, it matches this top drop down here. I'm going to hit lookup. While this loads, the fiber lookup is a proprietary tool, right? If you've been in the industry for a while, you know there's other TSDs that have other tools, there's other agencies that have this or that. The fiber lookup's been around a decade plus. It's built by ACS, developed by ACS, maintained by ACS, and that gives us a lot of liberty to add new features, to control the information, and also to keep your information secure as well, right? So as you're adding these, as you're looking up addresses, you want that peace of mind that a third party agency doesn't have access to some of these, opportunities that you're looking up. So yeah, fiber lookup, you have that peace of mind and it's designed and built for ACS agents and ACS partners exclusively. So again, if you don't have access to this tool, reach out to us. You're going to want to have access. We can also get access to every one of your sales reps, team members, and we want that for you. So what's happening, right? I entered an address. It's going to be a little slow because I'm streaming right now, but you're going to notice two main things. On this big section here, you're going to see a satellite aerial view of the address you entered, and it'll take just a second. And over here on this left-hand side, this is going to be the best way for you to interpret your results, right? Location results. And what we've done is we've made it really easy. We've broken it up by different categories: shared internet providers, dedicated fiber providers, dedicated internet resellers, fixed wireless providers, and satellite internet. From the network connectivity side, these are all the different providers these are all the different providers that a customer has access to, right? Depending on their need, depending on their size, depending on their budget, all these things are going to factor into, really designing a winning proposal. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, right? If there's six different providers, again, you're thinking to yourself, how am I going to, all these providers are on net, on location, right? Which is a great result, but you're probably feeling overwhelmed. How am I going to tell the customer there's nine different options for them here? That's where your ACS team is going to be phenomenal at helping, helping you see through the noise. You're working with your ACS channel manager. They're going to give you those recommendations based off experience, based on certain providers. Installation timeline is going to be super important. So that's where you can lean on your ACS channel manager to really strategize and really selecting the different providers in your proposal to make that a winning proposal for your customer. So here we see the little house. This is the address we entered. If I hover over satellite, I can toggle on labels. You can see here, this is the Plaza of the Americas. I'm in downtown Dallas, Texas. I'm going to take the labels off. That's available to you. If you hit uncluster here, it's going to expand the selection, right? You see all these clusters with number. It's telling you there's different providers that are in that building. And now I've unclustered, and now you can see, right? This is a huge multi-tenant building. That's why there's so many different suppliers that are on net on location. If you select any one of these logos, you'll see that it corresponds to the address that we entered. What that means, if you see a logo over a building, you just want to double check that it's actually, you know, on the building that you're looking for. You see sometimes here how they kind of straggle. I'm betting it's going to be this building here. But once you verify, right, that that's the building, that's going to indicate that that's on net on location, right? What does on net mean? And that's a really good question, right? It sounds trivial on net, right? There's infrastructure. The provider is either already on location or they already have the infrastructure to build to the location. It's one of the best results we can get. However, the one caveat is different providers classify on net. Different providers have different definitions for how they classify on net. So as you're looking at these providers, you can select any one of these information icons, and it's going to give you a breakdown of what on net means. This is AT&T. On net means fiber is built to the location. No construction is needed to bring fiber to the building. Expect a fast install, right? So just as you're looking at this stuff, you want to make sure you have those insights in mind so you can relay that information to the customers accurately. But yeah, as you can see here, this is a very rich business location with so many different options to choose from. Shared internet providers, Fidium, right? This was Consolidated Communications, who is now Fidium. You have on-net up to 1 gig. Spectrum coax is green. It's the best result. AT&T AIA shared fiber is available. That means you can order shared fiber. On the dedicated side, you have a whole list of different providers. And what we're going to be able to do, right? Fiber lookup is the availability tool. What we're going to be able to do is utilize PricingPro to get real-time pricing for every one of these providers. Spectrum Fiber Quick Connect. Now this is a different result. Let's select that. Quick Connect means fiber is built to the location and available for a fast turn up, 30 days or less. An even better result than on net. So even though on net's, typically the best result you can get, there different providers have other classifications like Quick Connect. Let's see, what was the other one I just saw? On nets, auto build is a different one that you'll see. That means that typically it's been assessed that they can bring fiber into the building, but it can take longer on the installation, right? So you just want to be mindful of all those different statuses. Dedicated internet resellers, you're going to see these on every one of the opportunities that you look up, right? These resellers are typically reselling the last mile of fiber from one of these providers. However, because of their wholesale rates, because they're able to sell nationwide, sometimes their pricing is going to be more competitive than the underlying provider. They're going to be really great for those multi-location opportunities where you have, a restaurant customer who has AT&T in one section, Lumen in another location, Frontier in another location. AirSpring Nitel Fusion is going to be able to unify all those different circuits. It's gonna have circuits at all those locations and unify that into one bill. And that's a really big desire for these franchises, especially. Going further down here, fixed wireless, Beyond Reach, Earthlink. Tower Stream, and satellite internet. We have Hughes. We also have access to Starlink. That's a big one. So again, there's a plethora of different options for your customer. It's not always going to be like this, right? We're in downtown Dallas. We're in a huge building. As you're looking up these opportunities, you're probably going to see maybe half or a quarter of these options, right? And in scenarios where maybe you have a customer that's in a very rural or remote part of the city, you're going to have even less options. However, you have some unique tricks up your sleeve with ACS. We have vendors like Hughes, right? They're satellite. They have they're going to be able to supply data plans nationwide. We have 5G vendors, right, that can provide 5G connectivity depending on where they are. We have a provider called Beyond Reach. It's in their name. They're a provider that thrives in delivering services to those hard to reach locations. So we have some unique suppliers in our portfolio that are going to be able to deliver those services to those hard to reach customers. So again, the best way to figure out who to utilize is, just type in the address, look at Fiber Lookup, and again, lean on your ACS team to help you strategize and really think about how to propose this to your customers. Just some other cool features on this Fiber Lookup page. You can toggle on and off the fiber providers. If you only want to see the shared providers, you can toggle that on. We also have data center providers. You see how I toggle that on? There's a data center next door, Equinix and Digital Realty. This toggle is actually going to span across the country. So as you continue to zoom out, you're going to see it also into Canada, right? You're going to see those data centers into Canada. Again, depending on your customer's need, depending on where they need those data center access points, it's going to be a very helpful tool to get that bird's eye view of the country and see where those data centers are throughout the state. And here you can see there's already a bunch in Texas. Lastly, we have fiber network paths. If you scroll down here, you can see the fiber network paths that are available for this state. Here's a little blurb. You can only look up one network at a time, and it shows which providers are in the state. So if you don't immediately see the network path, just zoom out and you'll see where their network path is in the state. So I selected Brightspeed. I'll give this a quick second. And as you can see, right, even though they're not in my immediate vicinity, the tool is telling me, hey, it's populating their network path as it spans throughout the state. So for this scenario, right, it might not be extremely useful. However, if you're prospecting or if you have an opportunity that's one of these other regions, it's really great to see where those fiber paths are, right? Let's say hypothetically you had an opportunity here, you can see where those fiber paths are running, and that's going to give you additional insights. It's going to help us go to that channel manager over at Brightspeed and say, hey, we can see you have fiber paths going parallel to this business location. And again, and it's going to help verify that serviceability. Now, there's different access points throughout this fiber network, right? So just because you see, even though you see the line right here or the network right here, there's different access points. That's something that we can verify with the provider. But a general rule of thumb, right? If you're in a location where there's not a lot of information, providers haven't updated their systems to show, if a location's on net or near net, we have the fiber networks to rely on. One key point I missed out on. How do we know this information's accurate, right? You're in the tool, you're looking things up. Where is this information coming from? How do we ascertain that the information we're providing is accurate? We do that by having real-time APIs. So what that means is that for every one of these providers, we have a real-time connection from the fiber lookup into their own systems. So sometimes we're at the mercy of some of these providers who may update their on-net locations every few months or every couple of weeks. So, things take time to update. But in general, the information that we're displaying here is the exact information that these providers are displaying from their own tools. So that's how we ensure accuracy. And that's how you, and then similarly on the Pricing Pro side, that's how we ensure accurate pricing, right? By having that real-time information requests to always display the latest promo rates. So with that being said, I'm going to select Pricing Pro. Now Pricing Pro, right? So this is our second tool. FiberLookup was the availability. Pricing Pro is going to be the real-time pricing application. As you can see here, it populated the address. We really designed this so that you can customize these opportunities because you're going to be able to reference them later, right? So let's say this was Tech Guys, this was or Tech Bros LLC. You're going to be able to filter by Tech Bros and search for that name in your RFQ history. So name it something that's memorable. Select the product category. So on the Pricing Pro, even though the Fiber Lookup just showed us, network connectivity, internet providers, on the Pricing Pro side, we have the option of internet, we have SIP trunks, POTS lines, POTS replacements, and in the near future, we'll have unified communications like hosted VoIP. So Pricing Pro is not just internet and network, it goes beyond that, and it's real-time pricing for numerous products that you can offer your customers. But let's say here you have a customer, there's a new customer moving into a building. They need a dedicated internet connection. They also need some kind of backup circuit, right? They want to make sure a failover. They want to make sure they're always running. So here I'll select dedicated and shared internet options. And kind of like an Amazon shopping cart, you're going to select what looks good. You can select any one of these providers, right? Maybe we do Earthlink, AT&T, Spectrum Fiber, Consolidated, right? You can see these are on net, available, quick connect. And then for your failover, maybe you have good experience working with Consolidated, so use them as a failover. And for fun, we'll do Spectrum Coax, right? Cable and shared fiber. So what I'll do here is I'll select the different speeds, static IP options, term options. You can do with or without router. Just kind of keeping it consistent across the board. For bandwidth, we'll do 50 megs across the board, 3-year term. And you also have the option to do multiple terms, right? 2 and 3-year term as well. That way you can compare, is there a price discount from going from 2-year to 3-year, right? Those things are really helpful as you're coming up, as you're introducing these opportunities to your customers. We do without router. Now I'm gonna hit run pricing. The tool will gently remind you that you've missed something. So let me look back at that. It's saying, please select the router for AT&T Fiber. And here it is. Look how nice it just reminds you. We'll do without router, no IPs, run pricing. There it goes. Alrighty. So as you can see, the tool's already running. This thing's happening rapidly fast. You can see the spinning wheels. We're going to give this a quick second. You're going to notice on the top right-hand corner, you're going to have your information, right? I'm logged in, but when you log in, it's going to be your information. If you go to your profile section, you can customize your phone number, your email, your company logo. The reason why that's important is that on this proposal page, it's designed to be able to share with your customers. And what I mean by that is right here where it says presented to, you'll enter your customer's name, Stacy Morgan. She's the IT lead. And the reason that I'm curating this information is that when you send this to your customer, you want them to feel like this was designed specifically for them. It wasn't a cookie cutter template that you're sending their way. This is a real proposal specifically for Tech Bros, made for Stacy. And then here in this email section, it's gonna be very important. This is the email that's gonna get either a pricing text or a pricing link. So with this dashboard, you have the option to send the customer either a pricing text, which is just a plain text email. It's going to look like a table with all these different options that we have here, or you can actually send them a link that's going to pull up on their browser. It's going to look a little better. The UI is a little bit more polished. You're going to have more colors and contrast. I'm going to show you what that looks like. But right now we can already see the pricing has already generated, right? You can see here, speed, this is what we're looking at. Total cost, right? There was no IP, there was no static IP cost, but now we have the total cost for the 50 meg 3-year term across the board. Maybe you're staring at this and saying, hey, this customer has a tight budget. Let's remove any vendor, any supplier that's, let's keep the top two suppliers in terms of price points here. So in this scenario, maybe you'll remove AT&T and you'll remove Spectrum Fiber. Now you have Consolidated and Earthlink 320 and 375. Very competitive rates. On the shared internet side, right? Spectrum Coax is at 115, Consolidated 170. Maybe you're thinking, hey, this customer, they're still on the fence about a failover. I don't know if I want to give them two options. And they're very indecisive. I want to make it really easy for them. Let's keep one. Now you have a simplified quote, right, based on the information that you've kind of interpreted, and now you're able to present this to your customer. So again, you can save an email or pricing text. I'm going to go one step further, save an email customer. When you do this, be mindful of this. You can review this RFQ from this link. This is pre-populated text. It's also going to pre-populate the introduction. It's going to say, hello, Stacy, right? So all you have to do is just type in your body and say, it's already going to say hello. So you just say, please check out the link below. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to hit send. From the recipient's perspective, it's going to generate a link. It's going to say, hey, please let me know. It's going to say, hey, Stacy, please let me know if you have any questions. See the link below. Let's pretend I'm Stacy, right? I'm the customer. I'm opening up the RFQ that you sent me. It's going to take me to a page like this. Now I'm still within my opportunity, so the customer's not going to see these delete buttons. But from their perspective, it's going to look like this, very, very similar to this. They're going to see that hey, Sergio, my partner advisor, the company, your agency, they're going to see your agency information up here. They're going to say, hey, yeah, I'm with Tech Bros LLC. Yep, this is my name. They're going to see all the different categories of services available to them. And here they're going to be able to make a decision. The fun thing is, as the customer is opening up their RFQ, you're going to get an email that says, hey, your customer, Stacy with Tech Bros LLC, has just opened up the opportunity, right? So that's going to be a very opportune time for you to give them that text, give them that follow-up call or email. So I'm the customer. From the customer's perspective, they're seeing what you've laid out in front of them. They also see this option that says request order. If they're satisfied with what they're looking at, they can hit request order and you see that change to accepted. The ACS partner is going to get an email that says, hey, your customer, Stacy from Tech Bros LLC, has just accepted the 1 gig month to month, $115 Spectrum Coax shared internet service. So now that's going to allow you to work with your ACS team to generate the paperwork. We do tons of coax, right? We can do this, within the hour. We do shared fiber all day, dedicated internet. We have access to all the forums, all the order tools. We're going to be able to support you very efficiently. Similarly, if the customer's looking at this, maybe they're budget conscious. They're just looking at the total cost and say, I'm going to go with Consolidated. They're at 320. That's a no-brainer for us. They're going to hit request order. So they're going to accept that order. You're going to get that confirmation email saying your customer has just accepted that, and then you're going to be able to run with that. For some of these providers, let's see, is this one of them? For some of these providers, as you're utilizing Pricing Pro, I think AT&T shared fiber is one that comes to mind. The customer is actually going to be able to hit accepted, and the page is going to have a pop-up, and it's going to allow them to enter their information, and it's going to generate the agreement without them ever leaving the tool. right? So that's a feature we're going to start to roll out in the months to come with more and more providers. AT&T was one of the AT&T shared fiber was one of those first ones. But again, we've really simplified the ability to look up an address, get real-time pricing, manage the opportunity, and then you as the ACS partner, you can revisit any of these. You can revisit your search history, you can revisit your RFQ history, which is your request for quotes. And then when you're looking up your different quotes, you will have access to this. The customer won't see this. You have RFQ data. You'll be able to see how many times the customers viewed that quote. You'll be able to see even where they're viewing from, right? What ISP they're viewing this from. And then also you're going to be able to manage the proposal, right? Is it in the negotiation phase, decision phase, or is it verbal agreement? Because later, when you look at your RFQs, you're going to be able to filter by those different phases, right? All the opportunities that are still in negotiation. So it kind of has that mini CRM ability. I know that was a lot, but I assure you, I took my sweet time all across the way, but I assure our partners as you're utilizing these tools, from the moment you enter an address, qualify it, get real-time pricing, that process takes minutes, right? 3 to 4 minutes max. And again, you don't have to be an expert at these things. You can rely on your ACS team to support you to run these opportunities, to run these quotes. These tools at these tools are at your disposal, but your team is there to support you along the way every time. I'm going to take a quick moment to see if there's any questions here. Looking at the chat. No questions. So again, thank you everybody for joining this call. Next month is November, right? So we're almost towards the end of the year. But again, every month there's going to be something new, right? This past month, we've onboarded 2 or 3 new suppliers. One of the biggest updates, and I barely even touched on this, one of the biggest updates is that we've onboarded Sparklight Business. You might have heard of them. ACS is the first TSD to have access to Sparklight Business. They have a 23 state footprint across the country, very competitive rates. They're extremely easy to work with. And best of all, you can look them up on the Fiber Lookup today. You're going to see their availability for on-net locations and coax, right? This is just one of those things how ACS really tries to differentiate itself from the other TSDs. All that to say is that, we really go out of our way to get more providers, regional providers, niche specialized providers. So again, if you want to just talk more about some of the providers in our portfolio, some of the different things that we're doing, lean on your ACS team from your login, connect with them, and we can always have follow-up discussions. But with that being said, thank you everybody for joining this call. We're going to send a recap email. So if you have any questions or things that come up, or if you need those logins, reach out to us. But until next time, thank you so much.